Sattvam laghu prakashakam ishtam upashtam bhakam chalam cha rajaha guru varanakam eva tamaha pradeepa vachartato vrittihi. Sattvam laghu prakashakam ishtam upashtam bhakam chalam cha rajaha guruhu varanakam eva tamaha pradeepavat cha arthataha vrittihi. The Sattva guna is buoyant and illuminating. The Rajas guna is exciting and mobile. The Tamas guna is heavy, sluggish, and enveloping. They function together for a single purpose, like a lamp. So in this video, we are going to be talking about the three gunas, that is, the three qualities of matter, the three constituents of matter. Now, whether you've grown in an Indian household or a Hindu household, you've gone to temples as you were getting older, and priests would tell you, be sattvic, don't be rajasic, don't be tamasic, eat sattvika food. Or if you've actually studied Indian philosophy, or you're studying Indian philosophy and you come across these terms in the texts, or if you even at a modern yoga studio, if they introduce some concepts like what a sattvika diet is, or what sattvika movies are, sattvika music is, this is a common term. These three terms are very common, and the term guna is very common, and we've heard it a lot in different places. But if you haven't heard of it, no problem, because we're going to go over it and we're going to try to understand what it means and what it originally meant in its original context. Now, see, I'm going to use the Sankhya Karika. Sankhya Karika is an authoritative text of the Sankhya school of Indian philosophy. Now, Sankhya, if you remember, is a sister school of yoga. There's 6 schools of Indian philosophy: Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa, Vedanta. Sankhya is one of the oldest schools, and it is a sister school of yoga. What that means is Sankhya lays out the reality of what the world is, and then yoga then takes that reality and then applies it to the practitioner and tells him how to use that reality to achieve liberation, kaivalyam. So what it does is, Sankhya addresses the metaphysics. First of all, what is metaphysics? Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that talks about reality. What is reality? Is reality made of matter, material things? Or is reality made of spirit? Is reality an illusion? Is reality, only consistent of tables and chairs and people? What is the individual? Is the individual made of matter and spirit, etc.? That's metaphysics. What is reality? The theory of reality, the philosophy of reality. So now, Sankhya is a school that lays out reality, the reality of all of existence. And then yoga takes that framework of reality, right? Okay, there's the body, there's the intellect, there's the ego. Takes that framework and then says, okay, how do we use this reality to achieve the goal of liberation and kaivalyam? So that's why it's really important to understand the relation. So I'm going to be using the Karika, Sankhya Karika, in Karika 13. This text is probably around 0 to 500 CE. It's very old. And, this is one of the first instances where the three gunas, Karika 13, where the three gunas are laid out. So what are the three gunas? First thing is to understand what the three gunas make up in totality. So if you remember, in Sankhya metaphysics, all reality is just consistent of the pure consciousness, which is just the soul or the witness, something that is changeless. It just observes, it's neutral. And the other thing is matter, which is just constantly changing and working with itself and, inert, doesn't have any consciousness at all. So Purusha, consciousness, and Prakriti, matter, and they're interacting with each other. That's what Sankhya's metaphysics is. So Purusha, it's united. It's not in pieces. It's just like, the soul of the individual, the consciousness of the individual, right? And Prakriti is everything else. The physical mind, the body, the elements, the ego, the intellect. And the physical mind as well is part of Prakriti. Now, the thing is that all of Prakriti, all of material nature, my body, my physical mind, this chair, the table, the wall, the other person, is all composed of three constituent principles: Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Now, all of these three constituent principles are in flux. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. They're all competing with each other in different areas. So for example, like if a certain color, there's a spectrum of colors, right? Things like red, green, and yellow, or red, blue, something like that. There's three primary colors. I'll have to touch up on that. But every color has the three primary colors in different proportions in it. That's where you get an infinite amount of variations, or so many variations at the least. And in the same manner, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are in different variations in proportions. Sometimes Sattva is dominating, sometimes Rajas is dominating, sometimes Tamas is dominating. And so every object has a different dominance of something. So that's when you say that, oh, that person is Sattvika. That means that particular guna, that quality, exists in higher proportion in that person. So now that we know that all of material nature is composed of these three gunas, let's go over the three gunas. So we know that, first of all, it says Sattva is Laghu and Prakashakam. Sattvam Laghu Prakashakam. So what does that mean? Sattva is buoyant and illuminating. So what does it mean for something to be buoyant and illuminating? So first and foremost, when something is buoyant, if you put it into water, right? Let's say you put a ball into water, it springs back up. Jumps back up suddenly. And it's very light in nature. So something that makes something spring up in lightness. And then the second thing is prakashakam, illuminating. Something that is very, very bright. Something that reveals the true nature of something. Something that gives someone some sort of, knowledge or understanding. But even before we go into psychological element, when something is illuminating, it shows brightness, it shows understanding. Then we have the next verse, the next part of it, which is Rajaha, Chalam cha Rajaha. So Upashtam bhakam Chalam cha Rajaha. So for Rajaha, it's Ishtam Upashtam bhakam Chalam cha Rajaha. So Rajas is Upashtambhakam, exciting, something that causes something to move, to begin a process, to excite something, right? So Upashtambhakam and mobile, Chala, mobile, active. Rajas is active, constantly moving, and causing other things to move. That's one of the key natures of Rajas. So here we have Sattva being buoyant, very light and illuminating, but then we have Rajas here being moving, right? Causing things to move. And then the third guna is Tamas, which is Guruhu Varnakam Eva, indeed. So Guruhu, heavy or sluggish. So normally we think of the term Guru as a preceptor or a teacher, which is true, but also Guru is heavy or sluggish, something that weighs something down and is very heavy. And it's also Varanaka, enveloping, something that completely takes over something, consumes something. Varanakam. Eva means indeed. So here we have Sattvam Laghu Prakashakam Ishtam Upashtam Bhakam Chalam cha Rajaha. Right? Guruhu Varanakam Eva Tamaha. So we know that Sattva is buoyant, Laghu, illuminating, Prakashakam. Rajas is exciting, Upashtam Bhakam, and mobile, it's Chalam. And Tamas is heavy, Guruhu, or sluggish, slow, heavy, and enveloping, Varanaka. These are the different qualities of the three gunas. Now if you can try to imagine, you take the three gunas and they're composed of different they compose different objects in different proportions. So now, how does this work? Now you take this pure metaphysical sense, right? And then what you do is now you take certain objects, like for example, material objects that don't move. They would have a predominance of tamas in it. They would have a predominance of stability, something that doesn't really, move, right? Then, as an example, you take like wind, or you take something that is sattvic, something that is light in nature, wind, or something that causes something to rise. These are all like metaphysical qualities of something that you will see actually in a psychological nature. So what I mean by this is, look, let's say for example, we talk about diet. The practitioners in the Gita and different places, in different texts, they prescribe a certain diet. And a sattvika diet, one that makes the body light on its feet, is fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, clean dairy, etc. So these types of foods are believed to be conducive for making the body light. And why does one want to make the body light as an ideal body type? It's because then the body is conducive for asana, which is physical postures. And then physical postures allow you to do pranayama, breathing, and then that allows you to refine your attention, which goes on further and further. But the body needs to be light. And that's why a sattvika diet, one that involves foods that are light and illuminating, whatever that is, like a bright apple, but something that is light on the body and doesn't make it heavy, tamasic. So rajasic food, sweets, like sugar, spices, coffee, caffeine, tea and stuff like that, makes the body want to move, makes the mind go wild, right? So many thoughts, so many things. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. That's rajasika. Tamasika makes the body tired. Meat, eat alcohol, eating a lot of food in general is tamasic. If you just eat a lot of food, you feel heavy. You can't breathe properly. You can't really. You just want to rest. You want to go to sleep. And we've had that experience where we've eaten so much. So we apply this to food, then we apply this to music. Let's say sattvika music is like classical, calm, nature sounds. Rajasika, something upbeat, or like, techno, trance, hip hop, pop, something that makes you move, makes you feel certain things. And tamasika, maybe even like heavy metal or something that brings you into a heavy, sad, not necessarily sad, but heavy state. So like sometimes even really, really sad songs can bring you into a depressed state. So that could be tamasika. So then you can apply this to different aspects of your life. Movies, music, the types of friends. If you always meet up with friends who are like talking about the newest things in life and inventions and how to improve yourself, that's a sattvika conversation. If you have friends who are constantly talking about, okay, how do I get further in the business world, or how do I get further in, earning money and stuff, that would be rajasika. If you have friends who are just talking smack about people all day, that's a tamasika or even rajasika conversation. Now, it's important to understand that none of these gunas, right, are bad in essence. All of them are required. All are required. So in order for you to study peacefully, you must have a predominance of sattva. In order for you to move and to exercise, you need a predominance of rajas. In order for you to sleep, you need a predominance of tamas. All three of them work together. And that's where the next part of the verse says, Pradipavat arthataha vruttihi. Pradipavat arthataha vruttihi. The three gunas function together like that of a lamp. The three gunas function together like that of a lamp. So the different parts of a lamp, I think it's like the wick and the oil and, etc. I forgot the parts of a lamp, but the different parts of a lamp, they work together to bring light, right? Pradipavat. So in the same manner, these three function together for the purpose of Purusha, consciousness, to be freed from material nature. So these three things, these three gunas in Prakriti, material nature, need to exist in order for consciousness to become free, based on Sankhya philosophy. So, for example, let's look at something else. Here it says, Sattva. The nature of Sattva is pleasure. The nature of Rajas is pain. The nature of Tamas is delusion. What is the example that the commentators give? So let's say there is a the commentators give an example of a woman, a beautiful woman. And in this case, understand that this conversation is, philosophy in this case is so, just purely metaphysical. So even people and animals and objects, inanimate objects, they're all called sense objects. Why? Because the organs are, contacting the sense object. So even a person is a sense object. So it's not that a man or a woman is a sense object or objectified. That's just what it is. You're just looking at something that's an object. You're looking at an object. So in this case, if a beautiful woman as a sense object. So to a sattvika person, a beautiful woman will bring pleasure, calmness. She's beautiful, and that's what she is. And that's what it is. It's like looking at, I think one of the quotations, like looking at a flower and not necessarily wanting it so badly. So that's what it is. It brings you pleasure. A rajasika person will look at that same sense object and think, I really want this person. I need this person. And become so enamored with, emotion and lust, etc., that it becomes almost painful to be attached to this sense object or to this person. So the commentators give an example of how, a husband towards a beautiful wife, a sattvika husband towards a beautiful wife will feel pleasure. But the other wives that he has towards that same beautiful woman will feel jealousy. Because they're under rajas emotion. But the thing is, nowadays we don't have, many people, marrying, different women, right? Like many wives and stuff. So instead what we'll do is we will give the example of someone who's just jealous, right? Someone who just, not just jealous, but someone who's very possessive and really, really wants that person. Besides that, then we'll go to the tamasika. The tamasika person to that beautiful woman will be under delusion, will feel completely deluded, like wants that person so badly, feels that they cannot live or be without that person, and then falls pretty much under delusion. Their mind gets like they're unable to see things as they are, and they feel like they're in their own reality, kind of, I would say. Commentators don't explain it that much, but the commentators just say that person who really, really, desires that beautiful woman can fall into delusion. And we've seen, there's stories and of wars and battles fought over the beauty of a woman, and also we see people like even a beauty of a man, beauty of a woman, etc. It doesn't matter. We see people who lose themselves over and consumed by these things. So the whole idea here is that one sense object can be treated differently by different people of a particular guna, a sattvika person, a rajasika person, tamasika person. But so there is that. And so we will continue to talk about the gunas further. There's so much more to talk about the gunas, the different qualities, how they interact with each other metaphysically. But for now, it's important to get a basic understanding of what the three gunas are, how they interact with each other, how they predominate, their different qualities, and how a single thing can be seen differently by people with different predominances of each guna. But also then comes the question of, well, then where does the idea go that does a single object have a particular nature in itself? Like, is an apple sattvika by nature, or is it that like how people of a certain constitution, do they eat it and then it affects them in that way? So I think it's both. I think that some objects are inherently sattvika or rajasika, tamasika. They cause certain things in people. For instance, if you take like techno music, right? Like, I don't imagine people meditating to techno music. I imagine that it's gonna evoke like a movement response in a person because of the beats per minute and how it is, right? So you don't imagine someone like having a dance off to classical music. So, or like peaceful nature music. You don't see people breaking it down on the dance floor to like nature sounds. So anyway, but we'll go over more concepts afterwards. But it's really important to understand the three gunas and how they really function. It's very, very interesting thing. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of practitioners, a lot of Hindus, the place where I've been raised, the different temples and places. They talk about the three gunas. People are constantly striving to become a certain guna and stuff. But it's very interesting how if this can be brought into a practice, because psychology has the priming effect, where like if you watch like a certain movie before you do something, like if you watch a comedy movie before you do some activity, you'll feel more lighthearted. If you watch a horror movie a violent movie, you'll feel more kind of aggressive. You've primed someone to express themselves in a certain way. So why would this not work? If you're walking and you have a poster of like a spiritual person meditating versus like a poster of like a model, like wouldn't the first one evoke different emotions than the second one, respectively, So we'll go over all these things. So for now, we'll leave it at that. We'll make a second part, and yeah. In addition to these terms, when referring to Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, I also wanted to mention that the term ishtam, which means desire or is desired, is a term that is used to describe Rajas. And so not only is Rajas mobile and also exciting, it is also something that is related to desire. And we will go into this in the next video. But this is a very important key element to the nature of Rajas.